When we speak to Indians that study in Germany, I think the overall experience is that it's quite easy to find a job.
The main question was that there are a lot of Indians who are already in Germany. Would they also be able to call their parents and parent-in-laws?
The new regulations will apply to those that arrive after the 1st of March 2024. मैं 2 साल से दिल्ली में रहता हूँ. मुझे भारत बहुत अच्छा लगता है. भारत का खाना, भारत के लोगों.
Today is 19th June and it is around 4 AM right now. Flight leaves at 7:30 और पहली बार न्यू दिल्ली जा रहा हूँ. Let's go.
Okay, I feel I should tell you how this video is happening in the first place. We had talked to Mr. Meyer in the first half of 2023 when everyone was facing major APS issues, and that's how we got to know him. I just wanted to see if he would be open for an interview, and I just shot an email and I actually got a reply. The video has been in talk since May and we decided on a date of 20th June to shoot it, specifically in an offline setting. I know many students have doubts regarding the new APS rules, VFS appointments, doubts regarding your visa, and who better to address these concerns than someone directly from the embassy. It is 8:45 right now and the shoot is at 1 PM, so all the best to me.
So I pronounce your name Aditya, right? Or is it Aditya?
Aditya.
Aditya. Aditya. Okay.
We are here finally. So there are a lot of questions. As we talked, I've taken some questions from students. There are some questions from parents. There are the APS doubts which are still prevalent, and there are questions about like the labor shortage and the skilled workers and the Skilled Immigration Act in Germany as well. Before that, I just want to start with you because a lot of people have this misconception that you are the head of APS and you're the spokesperson for APS, and most of them don't even know your name. So just for the audience, would you like to say like who is Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, so first of all, warm welcome here at the German Embassy, Aditya. It's great to have this conversation with you, and we're happy that you reached out. We feel there are always a lot of questions among students, among parents, on so many aspects of, life in Germany, studies in Germany, and of course also all the administrative process. So yeah, I've been working here in Delhi for the last 2 years. My technical role is head of the Science and Technology unit. So I look after research cooperation. We have the largest German scientific organizations that are actually present here in Delhi with their own offices and their own staff. There's some great research cooperation happening between India and Germany. But I also look after universities. So scholarships, DART, German universities that have their offices here in India. And so naturally, we are also in touch with prospective students, university staff. And before last year, the APS was introduced as a new process. And I think new processes, they cause a few questions in the beginning, and it takes some time until things are sorted out. And at this point, I'd like to thank all the applicants for their patience in the last year. I think the APS has come a long way. We realized that in the beginning, we were frantically working in the background, right? And as the average applicant would basically just feel the result once he gets his APS certificate, we thought we actually have to do more explanation in public. We know that going abroad is a daunting task. I've been there myself after finishing high school in Germany, and we understand the anxieties and the worries. And we felt that we have to explain more. We have to explain what we're doing. And it turned out that starting this conversation on social media was also a great way of understanding the concerns of the applicants. We read all the comments. We cannot reply to all of the comments, but many times they gave us an indication of which topics we should address in these videos.
I'll get to the APS questions, but I just want to ask, because you've been in India for roughly 2-3 years, how has been your experience? I guess your majority in Delhi or Bangalore, I guess. So how has been your experience in India?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's challenging to put it in a few sentences. So when I came to Delhi, I started learning Hindi. So let me try that. मैं 2 साल से दिल्ली में रहता हूँ. मुझे भारत बहुत अच्छा लगता है. भारत का खाना, भारत के लोगों. We're having a great time here in Delhi. In India, it's an incredibly exciting country. I was fortunate enough to travel a little bit around, north to east, south to west. The diversity is incredible. And the work here in India is very rewarding because the talent base is just incredible. Talking about the top-notch Indian scientists that have relations with Germany, but also about the students. So I think it's also a great moment in history. The number of Indian students in Germany has been growing 10 to 15% per year. It's stunning growth, and yeah, it's exciting that I can be here and witness all this.
I just want to know, because you've been in India for like 2 years, Delhi, let's say Delhi, what would be your 2 pros and cons about living in Delhi?
Okay, just 2 pros, that's already a challenge. I mean, Delhi's, it's an incredible place. In many ways, when I speak to Germans, I like to say that Delhi is like the Berlin of India, and not just because it's the capital, because I think there are a few things in parallel of the cities. It's large cities, it's very diverse cities where people came in different periods of time. Delhi has an incredible historical heritage. I mean, you know, usually in everyday life, we rush from A to B, we're always in a hurry. But when I look out of the window, especially in the nice times of the year, such as spring and fall, I feel like I live in a jungle city. You know, trees are abounding. Now everything is a little bit dry. We're waiting for the monsoon. Yeah, now it's a little bit dry, but it's incredibly green. It's spacious. The historical buildings are great. I really like the food. I like Northern Indian food. And I think the best thing of India probably is how easy it is to make friends. And I think Indians have this incredible talent of, you know, being open. And it started when I was on my flight. When I was on my flight from Germany to India, the guy sitting next to me struck up a conversation. And so Indians are not shy. They are outgoing. They are funny. And I think this ability, you know, to make new ties, to be attentive, to learn, to be flexible, that's also what helps Indians to live a good life in Germany.
And,
Yeah.
The cons?
The cons. So cons, I think even Indians will understand this when they live outside of Delhi. Delhi is incredibly hot. I mean, the climate, I just came back from Germany not even a week ago, basically from a chilly summer, 15 degrees to 45 degrees. And my apartment feels like a tandoor. As soon as the AC is off, the walls irradiate the heat. The climate is challenging. The winters are a little bit cold, summers are hot. There's this joke about Delhi that 2 weeks in a year it's bearable in Delhi, 1 week in spring and 1 week in fall. I think that's not true. I mean, it's at least 2 months, but actually in this time of the year, it's just beautiful to be here. So in summer, we're just looking forward to fall, and in winter, we can look forward to spring.
Yeah, I feel like the winters are still quite warmer as compared to like German winters, because German winters are like towards the negative Celsius, and in Delhi the minimum I've seen the temperature is like around 5-6 degrees, but I still feel like it's a little warmer than what you have in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference is German houses are built for the cold, so you know it's easy to heat them. In summer it's more difficult in Germany. We don't have ACs and the summers are getting hotter. But here, you know, with stone floors, the buildings get rather cold. That's, I think, the challenge here.
There are a few things which I want to know about everything related to Germany, the reason we are here today. But I want to start with APS because you are more or less the face of APS, and a lot of students might not know because they are not following all the previous videos from last year, but I feel there were a flurry of videos from your side explaining all the process for APS, what are the developments, what are happening, like some incidents at the APS outside the APS office. So that's what I wanted to focus on. My first question was that in a very brief manner, why did the bottleneck happen like a year ago? So in November, I feel the APS certificate was introduced officially as a requirement for everyone. So why did the bottleneck happen? Was that some manpower issue, or was that some like you got blindsided? Like, did the authorities get blindsided by the number of students?
So basically the idea of the APS was that we need a new process to really streamline the influx of Indian students to Germany. So the numbers have been growing, I think easily over the last 7 to 8 years, right? So we thought this aspect of verifying the diplomas should get a dedicated service to make things quicker. In the beginning, unfortunately, the result was the opposite. And one of the reasons was that the growth pre-COVID was there. During COVID, there was, of course, a lack of mobility and, in a sense, a lack of data. And we made predictions of how many applications we might get. But it seems that the interest in Germany even grew exponentially during this time where actually not many people were coming. So in the beginning, we were truly overwhelmed by the interest in studies in Germany and in getting the APS. And we quickly started to build up the capacity, but it takes time until you recruit the team, you train, you grow. We had several steps. We expanded the offices. We mobilized, every square meter that we have. And we also worked a little bit on the process itself, trying to make it as digital as possible, as efficient. And then the other process is also all people that are affected by the APS have to get familiar with the process. So that's German universities, that's Indian applicants, that's Indian universities. So it takes some time until you have an established contact with a number of Indian universities, so they know the process, they can quickly react, and then they know what to do. I think the main bottleneck was due to a lack of capacity, but we've worked on all these different aspects. I think the capacity now is there, and I think we've came a long way. So at the moment, you can get your certificate within a few weeks. There are still some delays that are outside of our control, and that would happen if the university does not reply quickly. We try to get back to the students. We sometimes have some issues in contacting the students, so what we always say is check your email, check your spam folder, pick up the phone, and make sure that the email you indicate when you register on the APS is the one that you regularly check. I know many people have different email accounts, so that definitely helps to be there and reply as quickly as possible.
True. I feel like it's June now, so a year back, I guess the average wait time was like around 6-7 months for a student who was applying for APS certificate. But now we also hear that students are getting it within a week or within like 3 weeks. So considering how quickly your university replies, how sound your application is, and how your documents are, I feel like students will get the APS certificate quite easily. Students applying for masters in Germany, they usually apply in their 8th semester. Is when German application windows are closed, like in March, April, or maybe July. So at that time, they don't have all their mark sheets because they don't have their 8th semester mark sheet. That means they don't have their degree. And they apply to the APS certificate with the 7th semester mark sheet, or sometimes with 6th semester mark sheets. They'll get the APS certificate. The doubt which a lot of students have is that enough, that APS certificate, which is kind of incomplete, is that enough for visa purposes, or do they need to update it again? Because they are only applying with provisional degree, and in India you get the degree after a year, like 1 year after you finish your exams. So what's the kind of like logic behind this?
There's this issue of the academic calendars between India and Germany not lining up perfectly. So we know that there's this big question when to apply to the APS. And last year we said do it as early as possible, but I think now, bearing in mind that you can get it quickly, the recommendation is to do it once you have your transcript for 7 semesters. So if your APS can prove that you finished these 7 semesters, there shouldn't be any issue with the visa process. When you apply for German universities, you can do this with a provisionary diploma, and then once you are in the process of immatriculation in Germany, then you'll have to show your entire documentation to the German university. APS recommendation is 7 semesters. Updating the APS is not foreseen in the process, so the recommendation would be do it as soon as you have your 7 semesters.
The second thing which a lot of bachelor students have a doubt is that TestAS, along with APS, TestAS was also made mandatory for bachelors. But then there are a lot of universities which don't demand TestAS. So if you have to give TestAS for your application, then it's a kind of like open and shut case that, okay, you have to give TestAS. But if your university doesn't need it, is it necessary to submit it for the APS as well?
Very simple answer, no, it's not necessary. But if you have it, you can submit it to the APS. But for the APS, it's not necessary.
I feel that is the same for IELTS and TOEFL or any other language exam as well. Like it's not mandatory to
exactly.
submit.
It's not mandatory, but you can add it.
Yeah, true. Because I feel the logic behind this is that it is already certified from proper proper organizations, and it's only your education which needs to be certified.
Exactly.
So now the big news which came recently on 3rd June, which has everyone in like shambles, is that your university in India, mainly private university, needs to be UGC accredited, and if it's not, you won't be getting APS certificate. The doubts which students have is that what if the private university, and it's a two-part question, what if the private university is UGC accredited but with H plus minus or H minus status?
So before applying to the APS, we always recommend that you take this eligibility quiz on the APS. On top of it, your university must have the H plus status on the ANABIN database, and we'll share the link with you. So this is where you have to go. And if your university is listed with H plus minus or H minus, then unfortunately you're not eligible for the APS certificate. And here the APS has to adhere to the UGC accreditations, right? So if a university would clear the UGC accreditation, then at that point ANABIN would follow suit and the status of your university could change. So we always recommend, before you apply to the APS, go check the ANABIN database.
And the second part of this question is, let's say it's a state university. What if a state university is not H plus accredited? It's H plus minus, or maybe in case of H minus. What would happen to those students?
So in fact, it's not relevant if the university is public or private. It's just the ANABIN status, right? So go there and check, and if it turns out that it's H plus minus, then unfortunately you cannot apply to the APS. You might want to approach your university and inquire if they are in the process of accreditation within the UGC. How long that would take, we cannot say. That's basically an Indian administrative process, but whether university is private or public does not influence the ANABIN status.
And you anyways need the APS certificate to study in Germany. Yeah. It's a mandatory requirement for visa. Before I move to like some other questions regarding like the concerns which parents have and the concerns which other students are having, I wanted to focus on like the main thing which is in talks about Germany a lot. It is the labor shortage, the Skilled Immigration Act, and the German economy. And I feel like all these things go hand in hand because of the labor shortage, there is the economy is in recession, and because of that, the government is putting in schemes like the Skilled Immigration Act, rules and regulations which help students and expats. And there are a lot of things here. You have the blue card regulations which are easing off. You have the dual citizenship. You have the new citizenship naturalization law which helps you to get citizenship in like 5 years instead of 8. And then you have some other rules regarding students, expats, etc. So number one thing, the labor shortage due to which all these laws are being implemented. Do you think the job market is for freshers, or do you think the job market is more suited towards the word skilled workers who are more professionals with like 4, 5 or even like 10 years of experience?
Right, maybe let's start with the good news. The economy is recovering and the latest numbers actually have even exceeded the modest expectations of the experts. So it seems like we're getting back on track. And last year, for a number of reasons, lack of skilled workers is one part of it. Also, the situation around energy, electricity prices contributed to that. But it seems that we're getting back on track. The good news is also that the lack of skilled migration of skilled workers actually opens a lot of opportunities for Indians. And I think it's really across the entire field of jobs. So Germany is looking for people with vocational training. It goes from carpenters to electricians. There are a lot of open positions for freshers that just finished university, and of course for experienced people, and also for top-notch scientists. There are a lot of great programs and generous scholarships. So when we speak to Indians that study in Germany, I think the overall experience is that it's quite easy to find a job. You get 18 months of a visa after you finish your studies to find a job, and 18 months, I think, for most people will be enough to find a job.
Like you said, like in 2023, the German economy was in recession, and now the numbers have quite exceeded because no one was expecting, I feel, to the economy to grow, but it has still grown by 0.2% in the first quarter of 2024. But on the same side, there are many MNCs which have considered mass layoffs during this time. You have Continental, SAP, Bosch. So during these conditions, would you say that it's a good thing that someone is considering studying in Germany, because these are trying times? And do you think it's wise for them to come to Germany? What is your take on this?
So Germany is the third largest economy in the world, right? So we have the United States, we have China, which are vastly larger than Germany. Germany has, an average, one of the highest paying wages in the world. The economy is very developed. It's driven not only by manufacturing and exporting goods, but also on research and development. So Germany has a very unique ecosystem, which from also we see this reflected in our research and technological cooperation with India, is, I think, a very interesting model. More than 3% of the German GDP is invested in research and development, and you see that companies have massive research budgets, Volkswagen being one of them, for example. So I think the German economy has a lot to offer in terms of what you can learn as an Indian studying and working in Germany, and of course also in terms of job opportunities. So the German economy is quite sturdy. We're getting back on our feet, and I think the perspective is very good. Of course, if you find a job, that will depend also a lot on you, right? And I think, for example, during your studies, if you start doing an internship, you get exposure to the German working culture, to a certain company that will definitely help you to find a job and to establish professional relations that will help you.
Again, this is an advice everyone gives. It's not just us who is giving this advice, that only studying in a university won't cut you anywhere else. You have to put in efforts, do internships, gain some skills to get a job. And what would you say about the future of Germany? And this question is more focused towards the parents, because they hear this news in articles on the news channels that, German economy is not doing well, people are getting fired, and the fear is instilled in their head.
I think sometimes when you don't follow a country very closely and some news are out of context, it can create a certain image that might actually be quite far away from reality. So Germany is an incredibly safe country. It's politically stable, it's economically stable. So I think it's actually a country that offers great conditions, especially for young people. There's a good life-work balance in Germany. Social security is incredible, and I think that's the attractiveness maybe of the European lifestyle. That's something you can find in Germany. The environment is clean, it's safe, you can drink water from the tap. So there are many factors that are actually quite nice. Of course, as any country, things happen, right? And I also understand that when a country is far away, and as a parent, your child is far away, that already is a bit of a barrier, and you always feel safer when your kid is close by. At the same time, I think now these days, with technology, it's so easy to check in on family that lives across the globe. It's much easier. It's getting much easier to send money. All these things are much quicker. When I was the first time abroad for a longer time after high school, I think I had access to the internet once a week. I had to walk to a little hut to check the emails. I was in a rural area in Brazil, and I would call my parents maybe twice a month, and you'd be counting the seconds because it was so expensive, right? And now it's so easy. It's great, right? I mean, your friends and family can take part in your life. And there's also so much more information on life conditions in different countries. And what you, for example, are doing with your channel, there are lots of other Indians that are broadcasting their life in Germany. That can also help parents to understand what's it like. I know parents would usually not use Instagram, but we are the generation that grew up with YouTube and Instagram. And there you can get a very clear picture, how beautiful some German cities are, how lovely you can spend your free time, the weekends. I hear from people living in Munich that when you take the local train to the mountains, the Alps, half of the train is full of Indians. They just seem to love the Alps, and we've been asking ourselves, why is that? Could it be because of the Himalayas? There's some relation to the mountains. We don't know, but it's great that they're enjoying their free time. So yes, I think parents don't have to worry. I think going abroad is, especially for a young person, it's a challenge, definitely. But it's something that really can help you to grow so much. And the self-confidence that you can get from having this feeling that you find your way around, it's something that can really help you to develop your career, your personality. I've been there myself, going to countries where I didn't speak a word of the language in the beginning and where everything seemed alien and confusing. But after some time, you get this nice feeling when you start to, you find your favorite restaurant and you know how things work and you know how to order food, how to deal with the local bank and so on. It's a great experience. It's daunting, it's not easy, but it's very helpful. And I think also, especially when you think about future employment opportunities, when you're abroad, you have to be very proactive and you have to understand your problems, you have to solve them yourself. This is a skill that in work life will get you very far.
I feel that is a skill which you anyways have to learn if you're living alone, even in your own country, in regards from financials to managing your time to learning cooking, which I feel is a very underappreciated skill.
True. It's in Germany, I think there's a culture of when you are 18, when you finish high school, you leave the nest, you leave your family, and you find your way in this world. So it's quite common in Germany that you go to a place far away from your parents' place to undergo all these changes. And I agree, cooking, but then again I have to say, now I finished my studies, or I started my studies, I should say, in 2008. So that was the first time in my life I had a flat rate internet connection. I don't even know if people know what a flat rate internet connection is. Back in the days we'd have, I don't know, a limited number of megabytes or gigabytes. And now there's so much great content on how to cook yourself healthy meals, all these things. The learning curve is steep, but it's exciting, yeah.
Following suit, how important do you think it is to learn German? Because we have told everyone that it's imperative that you learn German. If not for your job, if not for your studies, you need it to converse with the locals, to get your groceries, to do any other process in like any of the offices. So how much importance would you put on learning German in cases of getting a job? Because I feel that is also a parental concern and also the concerns of students that would I get a job if I reach Germany and I finish my studies?
So I think it will depend a little bit on your field. Most of the Indians that come to Germany now, they come for their master degrees and they study in English. So I think one of the reasons why Germany has been so popular lately among Indians is the fact that you don't have to learn German. You can start your studies, you can start living there. And I know a few Indians that I think have had quite impressive careers and they don't speak fluent German. But I would say it will definitely help you in many, many ways. So first of all, I think it really can change the way you see a country, right? You can make more friends, you can have conversations, you'll have a much better understanding of the culture and why certain things work or are the way they are. And for jobs, it will depend. So for everyday life, I think in the larger cities, you can get around with English. The smaller the city, the more helpful it will be to speak German. Our administration, of course, runs in German. English is not an official or administrative language of Germany. There it will help. And for your job prospects, Germany is definitely a help. I think what's special to the German economy is that we have lots of small and medium enterprises that are family run, especially in the south of Germany. And many of them are these so-called hidden champions, which means that in a small sector of a very specialized branch of the economy or product, they are leading the world market. And many of these companies, they actually do run on German. So if you want to really get to the core of the German economy, and if you want to learn as much as possible about why Germany manages to be innovative and productive, then Germany will help you. German will help you definitely. But you can find jobs with English.
I feel jobs with English would be more focused on like in-demand fields like you have computer science, data science, or anything related to machine learning or AI for that matter. But I feel it's imperative that whatever field you are in, you have to learn German. And following up on the suit of Skilled Immigration Act, the very recent happy news, which I would say for a lot of people who live in India especially, is that now you can call your parents and also your parents-in-laws, in case your spouse also lives with you, to Germany. And that has been only included for the people with blue card after 1st of March of 2024. So the main question was that there are a lot of Indians who are already in Germany. Would they also be able to call their parents and parents-in-laws, or is this only applicable to the people who have the blue card or who will receive their blue card after the set date?
I think that's an interesting topic, and I think first it's important to understand that this is really I think quite a fundamental shift for Germany. So Germany is a society with many people that have some migration background. When I was studying, the usual number I would give would be around 20% of people living in Germany were either not born in Germany or have at least one parent without German passport. So that's 1 out of 5 people that have some migration history, at least in their parents' generation. And the latest numbers I've heard now is that we're getting close to 30%. So Germany is really undergoing a fundamental change, and all these laws and new reforms, they reflect this process. And the fact that now you can bring family members comes also from the understanding that we have to understand migration from a holistic perspective, right? We know that family ties here in India are very important. Indian families are very tightly knit. With this reform, the new regulations will apply to those that arrive after the 1st of March 2024.
So I feel that's just a for now thing. I feel there is no regulation for the people below, for the people before. So for now being the emphasized part. The next question is related to the Skilled Immigration Act, and it's the final thing which came very recently is the Chancenkarte. A lot of people are excited about this because the Chancenkarte is something they have been looking forward to for a very long time, because it was introduced back in November. I feel it was announced in November, and but on the same side there are a lot of people from Germany, I would say still in the minority, but still a considerable amount of people who comment on videos or posts regarding this, saying that there are no jobs in Germany, the life is pretty bad, don't come here. Considering that there is a lot of negative stigma around this, what would you say to the aspirants who, very much eager to avail this opportunity and work in Germany?
So on our social media, I think generally we see a very positive feedback. And if we look at the numbers of students that are coming and the interest in the Chancenkarte, I think there's a lot of aspiration on the Indian side, and certainly there's good reason, right? Of course, it will always depend on the individual person and trajectory, if you can find a job, and slightly on the sector, but there are definitely a lot of opportunities in Germany, absolutely.
Now, I talked to a few parents and I got some of their concerns as well, and I wanted to understand what they feel, especially when they're sending their child who is coming for bachelor's in Germany. And whenever someone is coming for bachelor's, they are around 17 to 18 years old, and it's not really a age period where parents are ready to let go of their children. They still will say that, do it in India for 4 years, then go for masters, things like that. So they had a few doubts, and I've categorized them in 4 issues. Firstly, is the safety of the child. Is the country safe? It includes personal safety, healthcare, and mental health. Because they also understand that personal safety is a little more subjective, but healthcare and mental health is something they don't understand, because the system in Germany is different than the system in India. So what would you say to these parents?
So Germany is overall a very safe country, right? In so many aspects: food safety, road safety, political stability, physical safety. It's a very safe environment. So I think parents can be relieved. I understand that when your child is just 16, 17 years old, it's a big step, and it's an adventure. It's an adventure for them. And when the kid is far away, as a parent, you might worry about his or her life. But Germany's, I think, a very good place to send your child. Medical coverage is good. The system is a little bit different, so it might sometimes take a little bit longer until you get an appointment, but the medical coverage is great, the social security, and overall the system of security is very high.
I feel I should act like a parent and ask these questions following up. So the other question which they have is that you need a blocked account. I'm just purely talking about studying in Germany now. So to study in Germany, you need the blocked account, which is 11,208 euros for the first year. So they worry about the financial situation, because they have also heard from other students, and which is true, that in bigger cities you might need a little more money because the rent is on a higher side, or the cost of living is on a higher side, which is true for every country, where smaller towns will have less cost of living, bigger cities will have higher cost of living. So their question is, what if my child goes bankrupt? Who will help him or her?
Yeah, so the way the blocked account works, actually, safeguards you against that. So it's done on a calculation, how much are the average monthly expenses for rent, for food, for your daily expenses. And the blocked account will basically send you this money per month, right? So this is a safety net in a sense. And the other aspect, of course, once you don't live with your parents anymore, you have to learn to budget, and spending money is easy. I can tell you, it's also easy in Delhi. It's easy in Germany. But students get the opportunity to work as well, up to 20 hours a week. So I think there are a lot of opportunities to make ends meet. And Germany has some incredibly affordable supermarkets. So if you find your way around, it can definitely work for you. Cost of living in comparison to some other European countries is actually quite affordable in Germany.
Then the third question, and I can really even imagine my dad asking this question to you. The German bureaucracy is heavily complex in the sense that if you compare it with Indian system, it's very much paperwork focused. I would say like there is a lot of paper trails written a lot, there are a lot of forms that you have to fill. So the concern which parents have is that how can a 17 or an 18-year-old person, or even for someone who's going for masters, let's say around like 21 years of age, understand and complete all these processes in time without incurring a fine?
Right. Yeah, I see where the question is coming from, and I can tell you now, after 2 years in India, it's great to see how many aspects are already digitized here. It's a great thing. I can get many things done from my phone. Germany is on that trajectory, but we're not moving as fast as India. It will be difficult to be as fast as India. Bureaucracy is always a little bit difficult or tricky. I've spent some time in countries abroad. It's not just in Germany the case, I can tell you. It's always daunting, and in the beginning you don't know how the process works. I think it's run on German most of the time, but actually now computer translations have gone so far that when I travel abroad with my camera, I can get translation of Japanese or any other language. That's, I think, makes things a little bit easier. You might need some help here and there. I think usually you can get this help, and German administration is also trying to get more and more ready to deal with non-native speakers. So you will survive the German bureaucracy, I'm sure.
This is a question which I wanted to ask, like how German learning would help. But then a parent asked me this when I met a few of the students and their parents in a recent meetup. And the question directly from there, I'm literally quoting, the parent was, would learning German solve all my kids' problems? So this is a very...
That's a great question. So if all of the kids' problems consist in not speaking German, then I would say yes, speaking German is a solution. But on a serious note, I think learning a language is great, and we might be tempted now to think with artificial intelligence, why should I even bother? And I feel myself impressed while traveling that we're now at the point where you can speak a language into a phone and you get an understandable translation. It's impressive. But learning a language is still something very different, I think, and it's difficult, but it's also a pleasure. So I've been studying Hindi for 2 years. मुझे हिंदी ठीक से नहीं आती है should be. लेकिन भाषा बहुत ज़रूरी है. Yeah, languages are important. I think it's important to understand how people think. It's fundamental to make friends in that language. So if you are in Germany, learning German will greatly improve your experience. It will, I think, really have a very positive impact. So I would encourage everyone to study German. You can start studying German here in India. I think the best way is to go to the Max Müller Bhavan. I know there are lots of online offers that are nice with the phone. We know all the apps, but the best thing, I guess, is having a physical teacher in front of you. So yes, I would encourage everyone. In the beginning, the articles, the German grammar can scare you a little bit off, but you'd be surprised how many words actually Hindi and German have in common. So when I asked my Hindi teacher, how do I say in the end? I say ant me, yeah, and ant is Ende. Is end in English, right? So you're surprised that actually Hindi and German have a few words in common that will make you feel a little bit at home, I think, in the German language.
The other most recurring doubt which everyone has, and it is more in talks as with the all labor shortage and skilled workers thing, is my field in demand in Germany? And this is a question ranging from mechanical engineers to automotive engineers, even from managerial fields, even people studying medicine. So what would you say to these students?
So of course the exact labor demand will depend on the field. Mechanical engineering, automotive engineering, that's the soul of the German economy, and there are lots of very strong companies. So in that case, I think if you graduate from a German university, maybe you even speak German as a plus, you have your application documents in order, you leave a very professional impression, then I think you can find very good jobs. It's best to do some preliminary research to identify a few companies, to have an understanding how big the economic sector is in Germany. So I would recommend to do some research, but we can be optimistic, I think.
And finally, for everyone, let's say, who is applying to APS, for everyone who is going to study in Germany, and also for the people who are applying for Chancenkarte or any other schemes which will help them study in Germany, work in Germany, what recommendations would you like to give to the aspirants who want to move to Germany for the future?
I think it's very good to do your research. Don't get overwhelmed very quickly. The administrative process is a little bit complex. It takes a little bit of time, but it's absolutely feasible. And I know that there are a lot of things that can go on in one's mind at the same time. You will relocate, will you find friends? Will you find a good place to stay? You have no imagination of how your everyday life will be. At the same time, it's important to keep a cool head. Print out the checklists, make checklists for yourself. I think it helps to take off a little bit of this mental burden of thinking all the time about the things you have to do, and then you can work, step after step. You can cross things off your checklist, and it will help you not to forget anything, and it will help you to concentrate. And I think when you are calm and relaxed, you also find the best solutions to all the different challenges that you're facing. And there are lots of Indians in Germany now. On Instagram, there's plenty of information. Once you come to Germany, you will not be alone. I know that there are WhatsApp groups with probably thousands of Indian students. There are counselors. We live in a golden age of information. So I think in some sense, biographically speaking, it's a very big step, a very important step you can take after high school, but it has never been as easy in some ways also.
Perfect. I feel that pretty much wraps up everything I meant to ask, because starting with when I asked you about the APS doubts, it's something which everyone has issues with, and even though there is all the information available on the APS website, information is also put out on the German Embassy's Instagram page, I feel the Facebook page as well. So there is a lot of information being put out, but still there is some doubts which can linger in between the lines and students might get confused about. So thank you so much for clearing all those doubts which students have regarding past issues and also some new developments which have come. Thank you so much for your time. I know putting out like an hour, more than an hour, I feel like it's been already 45 minutes we have been talking, but thank you so much for giving us your time. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, and I am pretty sure that everyone listening to this video or everyone watching this video will get a lot of idea about their life in Germany.
Great. Thanks, Aditya. It's been a pleasure, and pleasure talking to you. And yeah.
I feel, yeah, that's pretty much. Thank you.